And that's why we redid it. Grant hit the intro perfectly. Pot of Gold, welcome back. I'm Brett. I'm here with Mike, Grant the intern, Gerald in there. Okay. we gotta just say
we should have known.
I went off about Gerald not being in the chat for what, 30 seconds?
Yeah, we have been ripping the hottest pod that it's been in a while for 27 minutes.
Yeah, we've been talking for half an hour and realized we weren't recording.
Gave Gerald a shout out, gave Hugh G saying, I wonder where everyone is in the chat. It's crazy. That one hurts. That one hurts. So we're going to reset. We're going to start over. The boys are here.
I think we started off by railing on Gerald for not being in the chat. Unbeknownst to us, we didn't have a chat to be in.
I mentioned Hugh's DMs.
Hugh's DMs. Go ahead on that.
Yeah, I was just DMing, saying fire everyone. He was out on it. Man, I still can't believe we haven't been recording for the last 30 minutes, but that's okay.
I'll take the blame on that one.
So I think I can tie us back into where we were, because I think the next point that I was trying to make was we should not have won this football game. Okay. At the end of the day, you're down that much. I know you came roaring back. You caught some breaks here and there. It did not look like this was the type of team that was going to be able to pull out a victory here. We got a gift. I think we finally got over that hump of, damn, like we just don't catch a break here. We caught a break in the plan, but there was certainly areas throughout that game that you saw flashes of that's the team that I really thought we could be. Right. We talked about this for half an hour, so we're kind of circling back here. But
play the hits.
You look back at some of the plays that were made, and we're going to harp a lot on the plays that were not made, on the heavyweights that are in the backpacks of Josh Williams that are, weighing him down. He's 150 pounds heavier this season. We're going to talk about how the offensive line is soft, but it's a reflection of a lack of leadership, in my opinion. We'll get to that in a second. But some of the great highlights that we were able to see was plays like Aaron Anderson 3 different times, right? The opening drive, being able to stretch to get that first down, that throw across the middle that was elite, and then the leap ability and to secure that catch, the sideline strike where he burned the DB, was able to make a contested catch at the end of it and really flash with dependability. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways is you are seeing each week a little cornerstone be developed of who this team could be. And I think one of those cornerstones is relying on not only Kyron Lacy, but Aaron Anderson now as a go-to guy when you're backed up and you need that fucking first down and you need a dependable hand to catch the football. Aaron Anderson's going to make a play. We found out we have RB1 in Caden Durham. And Brett, to your point, it wasn't as if anything was different, right? With the blocking lanes, he made people miss. You go back and watch some of those runs. He had a man within inches of him in open space, and it wasn't as if he shaked him out of his boots. He just tucked the corner and turned on the burners. It looks like he wasn't moving that quick, but he was keeping his balance and running through defenders. That is somebody that we need on the football field. And I don't give 2 shits if he doesn't know the playbook. You know who else doesn't know the playbook and how to pick up blocks? Fucking Will Campbell and Emory Jones right now. Okay. So it's a consistent theme of not being on the same page. Play your best players.
I can't stop thinking about the first touchdown run from Durham because it's 3rd and 9 and you're down 17-0. The balls it takes to run the ball there with a true freshman is hilarious. Like it's legitimately so funny. If that gets stopped like 98% of the runs that we've had this year and it's 4th and 7 and we trot out the field goal, all hell would have broken loose on the internet. It was,
but that shows you that he's going to depend on Caden though. It shows you that this is not just, hey, let's get him in the game and get him a little experience. It's, hey, game's on the line, and we're handing the ball off on 3rd down to the freshman. And then we're going to depend on him the rest of the game. So I understand Kelly coming out and being like he's not ready for running back 1, which I think he should be. but that doesn't mean he's not going to get the bulk of the carries moving
Yeah.
forward. He's going to see a heavy dose of Caden, and I think he's going to produce. I think that is one of the biggest missing pieces there. I think another piece that we actually didn't get to, Nuss has to move his feet. He's got to be able to run a little bit with that football. You look at every single team that's killing it right now. You just look at the AP top 10, right? Every quarterback can move. Even fucking Carson Beck can move around a little bit. Nuss can move. He just hasn't shown it yet. He hasn't done it intentionally yet. That needs to come. We absolutely need that arsenal in this playbook. The offensive line right now, Brett, we talked about how soft the team is. We have to be able to push people around. It's inexcusable to not be able to get a fucking yard
on third down.
Ever, right? Goal line, first down. It doesn't matter where we are on the field. If you need a yard, I'm not sitting confident whatsoever. Something needs to change there, and you have to get that shit figured out before Ole Miss. You have to, and I think we can. I think the problem list has shrunken. I think we had a lot of problems coming out of USC where we had areas of concern. I think against South Carolina, there was evident problems, but they're all fucking fixable. I think they're all fixable. One of those, though, is short yardage, okay, running the football, and then our pass protection. Because, yes, South Carolina's defensive line was great, right? I think they're elite, but we're going to face multiple elite defensive lines this season, okay? And we need to be able to trust. If we can't trust our tackles on an island, then we need to figure something out, because our interior guys are confused as shit. And that goes along with the running backs. You go back and watch any of the plays that the pocket collapsed immediately, it was guys that should have been picked up. We had enough hats in the backfield to be able to get a guy, and they're not communicating appropriately. That's typical of offensive lines early in the season, right? It shouldn't be amongst a group that's been cohesive for multiple years now, but unfortunately it is. Fortunately, it's one of those areas that I feel like we will be able to improve on. It's the physicality that is a mindset that has to change. The blitz pickup, I think, is something that can be coached, and coached quickly.
Yeah, and just to kind of go back to where it started, because I feel like we've glossed over kind of the high point of what we need to talk about. A huge win. Like, really, it takes a lot of like guts to go in and get down, get punched in the mouth in a pretty hostile environment, and be able to go out there and find a way to win a game. It's like officials, whatever you want to say about plays, we'll talk about those at some point tonight. You got it done when you should not have. Like you said, like, it feels like all the time the bounces don't go our way in some of these games. We're like, man, if we could have just done this or done that. And it's like, this is probably a huge momentum shift going forward for this team through the season, to be like, okay, we can win some of these games. But we also kind of get bullied week in and week out, and it's just kind of so frustrating to watch. It's like we get before the USC game about how we're going to go there to get into a fist fight, to just constantly be kind of getting pushed back. I said it before. I probably am misremembering the stat the second time around, but Richard Dixon said, I think we've run the ball on 3rd and 1 8 times and picked up a yard twice to get the first down. It's like, that's not going to get it done.
Yep.
There's too many good teams. It's like, I think LSU, it has potential to really be able to do some damage this year. We've seen that the offense has enough weapons that they can make plays. Like you said, Aaron Anderson, a dude who we thought was going to be an impact player coming from Bama, didn't happen last year. So it's like, oh, he's probably just too small and not a guy to do it. No, he's a legit threat on offense. He's a legit go-to target when you need a big play, on top of Kyron Lacey being one of the top whatever wide receivers in the country, along with Mason Taylor, who's a pretty sure-handed guy. Like, we're going to be able to score points. This team scored a bunch of points on a pretty solid defense and left so many points out on the board. But it's like, we got to be able to move the line of scrimmage some against Ole Miss. We're going to have to, like, is Walter Nolan just going to throw people around all night, or are we going to figure out a way to, like, push that dude back? And it's like, you're going to have that test a few times this year, and we're going to see that's going to be where it stacks up. The defensive line, I thought, played well above expectations, and they're probably the only group that you can say that about as terms of like being physical.
But as a whole, yeah, the lack of physicality is striking amongst the entire team.
Not
As a
Jordan Gilbert
whole,
though. He comes in there head first.
Craig Lawson Jr. Like this guy is just the headhunter. He's
gonna
he's
be
playing in the
missing
wrong
halves.
generation.
Yeah, well, he's gonna be missing halves all season.
It might be
forced
too
a
quick
fumble there. Like
he did. Okay, but let's talk about that. Let's talk about these
that's
forced
exactly where I was
fumbles.
going into. It was that as a whole, the defense is doing something that we didn't see last year. It's making plays, and they actually are. We're not capitalizing on the plays that we're getting breaks because we are causing disruption and getting fumbles, right? But we're not capitalizing on that on offense. We're not complementing, just like against USC. We're not playing complementary football. Look at Zy Alexander. You know, they drove all the way down the field, and he's got a pick in the back of the end zone. You look at a guy,
and he gets eaten by a bush.
You get a guy like Deshaun Spears as a true freshman. Sure, he's taken his lumps here or there. That 2-point conversion, he was all over it. He had a pick in the back of the end zone, right? So like that, there are glimpses. There are multiple fumbles that we knocked over. We finally recovered one, right?
That defense is able to get off the field. Like
they're able to get off the field. We have to on offense be able to do what we're supposed to do well, which is picking up blocks. Doesn't matter how exotic the schemes are. Doesn't matter if they're twisting up the middle. We need to be on the same page and pick those up, because when you pick up the blocks and you give Nuss time, it's game over. He will pick you apart. He's that accurate and that dangerous with his arm. He needs to be able to escape a little bit with his legs. We need to be able to block much better, and we need to play Caden Durham at running back. And I think if we're able to execute those areas, and then you get a guy like Chris Hilton back, able to take the top off the defense, you open up so much more field across the middle for guys like Anderson and Lacey and Mason Taylor to feast. And we have seen that Nuss is capable of stepping up and throwing the ball across the middle with ease and with accuracy. That will be our bread and butter. We just haven't put it together yet. And that is the concerning piece. It's not if we can do it. We know we can do it. That is the most frustrating part about watching this team, is knowing that the defense is so far away from being great, but they're making plays that are good enough to win us football games. Offensively, we're just fucking lazy and soft, and we're not executing. We're not, like, point blank.
We scored 36,
but we should have scored fucking 56, right? Like
I get it.
That's what I'm saying is our potential.
Some of that is on coaching. Like some of that,
100%
we're going to put a lot of.
Yes,
This defense was never going to all of a sudden turn into Georgia. This defense has gotten off the field so many times and has held teams to field goals when the defense last year would have been an automatic touchdown. LSU goes for it on the 1-yard line 17 times in a row and gets stuffed. And normally what would have happened is that defense would have given up 2, 3, 4 first downs, and then we would have been starting on the 20 again. That defense probably should have got a safety, but what they did was they manned up for 3 plays, got the punt, and gave the offense back on the 45-yard line. It's like this defense is doing enough. And I go back to Blake Baker's press conference before the season where he pretty much said that they're making plays. There's just the hiccups, and there's like the doing it every play. And I think that's what we've seen is as a whole, they're doing pretty good. And then it's like, well, fuck, man. Whit Weeks jumped inside and didn't keep outside contain in their 75 yards. Or, hey, Sage Ryan can't just slow a dude up a half second so the help can come and turn that into a 20-yard run. It's like, it's that type of like minor mistakes of like gap integrity that it's like, if you fix this, all of a sudden, look, again, this isn't going to be an elite defense. Ole Miss is going to be able to score on this defense. Alabama's going to be able to score, but they're going to make enough plays to keep us in this game, in any game.
Well, I think the biggest thing that Blake Baker brought is the havoc. You know, let's shoot the gaps on the D line. Let's not eat up blockers, and you're starting to see that to where, and that's causing us to get off the field. Now, on the flip side, like, you know, I think T-Bob said it in the post game, where when you create all this havoc, you're gonna end up still giving up a few big plays, but all of the play, like the long runs, or again, back to you guys' points, is it's fixable. You know, if they're not too out of control in these crazy, havoc causing situations, then we make those plays more times than not, and we're going to continue to cause turnovers and continue to get sacks. And last year's defense was nowhere close to this, and I think last year's defense had more talent.
And to be fair, I think 90, and Blake Baker, great job. Like, I think 90% of the improvement of our defense is that the defensive line can actually like do something and move some people around and get some pressure.
Braden Swinson's a pro.
Yeah. I mean, Pear Shan made some big plays. Savion Jones looks really good out there. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't
We're in the positions. We're in position. Like, do we have top talent across the board? No. Absolutely.
If we had this exact same defense last year, we're in the playoff. We're in the 14 playoff. Not a 12. We're in the 14 playoff.
Yes. I think there are a lot of issues that we could focus on. And I just want to address Hugh G, one of our loyal listeners here. And a lot of it is throwing shade on BK. And I just want to address that real quick. Here's the deal. There's nothing we can do about Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's going nowhere. He's locked in. Like,
how much money you got, Hugh?
We're not firing him. It is what it is. Did he make a shit ton of mistakes when it comes to portal evaluations, being able to get it, a D line squared away, being able to re-sign Mason Smith, being able to retain Blake Baker, Corey Raymond, making terrible defensive staff hires? Yes, but there's really no use in harping on that. And we have to be able to kind of look at what are we doing well? What is the outlook moving forward that we can be excited about? Because if it's doom and gloom around here and it's fire Brian Kelly every week, I don't want to have anything to fucking do with this team because it's going to be exhausting. There are areas to look at that have some excitement because he's not going anywhere. I don't think we need to move on from Brian Kelly. Does he need to be fucking yelled at for a lot of his issues? Sure, absolutely. There are issues there that haven't gone our way. I think it's time to turn the page on the culture development, and it's time to start playing with fucking swag and playing your best players that are some dudes.
It's obvious you have a good culture. Like a team with a bad culture doesn't. They lay over and die and just let that crowd storm the field and have a day, and we go home and go on Instagram and move on. That's not what's happening. Like, this team obviously likes the staff, whatever, Brian Kelly. I just want us to be meaner. That's what I need out of Brian Kelly. I'm sick and tired of every game fucking starting slow. I'm sick and there's no one who likes aggressive play calling and going for it on fourth down more than I do. But at some point, like, can we just fucking take a point? Can we just take a field goal, move on with our day? If we can't bully the line of scrimmage, then what makes you think we can go for it on all these fourth downs? It's like, that's the shit. He's built probably the best staff we've ever had. We have some sick recruiters on the staff. We have insane recruiting class coming up. Like, I'm not in the anti-Brian Kelly camp. I just want us to be a little fucking meaner sometimes.
Right. And the point of me bringing this up is I could go off for an hour about issues I have with Brian Kelly right now as well. Right. I just think it's for us. And I know we're venting in the chat. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying I don't want that to derail us and to go off the rails on fucking Brian Kelly, because there are issues, but there are other areas of positive angles when it comes to a Brian Kelly led football team that I think we still have some hope here for this season. And catching a break and being able to beat South Carolina on the road, I think is the turning point for this football team. And I think we will blow the fucking doors off of UCLA. I keep getting hit with something back in my throat. We will blow the brakes off of UCLA. I think we cover. I think we explode over 23.5 points, whatever the spread is. I absolutely would take that. I think this team is going to make some serious adjustments with how they approach the game. But the main fixable issues like gap integrity, like blitz pickup, like being able to run the ball in short yardage, I think we are going to see some changes moving forward with that It's going to start against UCLA. It's going to be finalized against South Alabama. And then by the time Ole Miss rolls around, it's not a guaranteed fucking blowout by Ole Miss. Because if you talk to anybody right now, that's what they're banking on. I guarantee you in 2 weeks' time, that narrative will shift because this team is going to make some serious traction over the next 2 weeks. You're going to see the execution rise. The only reason I feel that way is if you would have gone back in time, BK year one against Alabama, and told me that we would have the Jaden Daniels breakout game, Mason Taylor would catch a game-winning 2-point conversion to beat Alabama. After what I saw before that going into that game, I would have laughed at you. Yeah. But there is ways that we can get better every week. If this LSU football team gets better every week, they are going to be a good football team. Right now, we are close. And it's very frustrating on why we're not there. Yeah. It's preventable, fixable issues that should not still be happening. You cannot get a fucking punt blocked when you're that deep. You cannot fucking bobble a snap on a field goal. You cannot have false starts. You cannot be missing a wide open fucking whiff tackle by Sage Ryan. There's so many little things like that where it's like, if one or two things goes the other way, this is a blowout, right? Yeah. But they're not doing it yet. Yet is the key word. I think it will happen. If it doesn't, fuck yeah. Pitchforks, let's have a vent session and come right back here the next year for BK year 4. But I don't think we're there yet.
The scary part about that, and the only thing that I can kind of agree is because let's say LSU is not as good, like, people are saying lose to Ole Miss, lose to Alabama, whatever. You win your 9 games, you play in a bullshit Cheez-It Bowl again. Then all of a sudden you're running it back with Nussmeier, who's possibly in the NFL, both of your tackles definitely in the NFL. It's like Kyron Lacey gone, and then it's all of a sudden like Harold Perkins gone. Then it's like, well, we're kind of in a rebuilding year here. Like maybe in 2 years,
I think that changes if you can get Bryce Underwood as your starter as a freshman. He comes in almost like a Nico, and you've got this like bright spot. If you can sign those players, I don't give a fuck what happens after this season, right? I think we're gonna have some high performers there. They're recruiting at a high clip.
But you're in like this window now of like, if we're not gonna make the playoff this year,
our window was last year. We should have been in the national championship last year. That's the problem.
I don't know. It's like I got a text from Vinny, who's probably in the chat. He's like, so what do we do? Move to now like 2027? Is that the wait till 2024?
I don't think this is this is not a national championship team. And like that's
not
what
it's a
I'm
team
hoping.
That should be able to fucking bow out in the second round of the playoffs against Texas.
But I think we can get to that point.
This team though is not a national championship team, but also because the rest of the league is not dominant. I mean, maybe you can say Texas is this year, but like there's no Bama,
Tennessee,
and like
Miss,
Georgia struggle.
The league's pretty strong.
It is, but it's not like the juggernaut of like it's Bama and Clemson every year. It's not the typical teams. We just saw Georgia being very beatable.
There's a handful of really good teams, but they're all equal in how good they are.
Right.
What you're saying is it feels like the West should be up for grabs, and unfortunately, there's no West anymore. That's kind of what you're getting at, though, because it's like, well, I think we can hang with Alabama. It's like, if obviously we have to improve, whatever. All those other teams are in the East, and it's like, well, no, that doesn't matter anymore, and it's just pretty much a power ranking conference. But that's just the only thing. It's like, look, I think Brian Kelly has done a great job of building a foundation of a program, and we'll just see where it goes from here. But we're not changing. It's not like we're changing. Ed O's not walking through that door.
Neither is Les.
There needs to be an attitude change from our leaders. And I don't know if it was said on this version of this podcast or the 30 minutes before, but our leaders have to step up and be dogs. Harold Perkins needs to be a fucking dog. He's playing good enough to cause distractions and allow other people to get to the quarterback, this, that, and the other. But if you open the game, the first play of the fucking game, and you whiff on a tackle and it goes for 10 yards, as a dog, you're not setting the tone. Will Campbell going out there, the 2 number 7s, okay? The 2 number 7s need to fucking play like Tyron.
And 18s.
They need to be. Don't give me the 18s.
And the 3.
Stop. I was on a great point here. I was on a great point here.
I think Grant did a great job there.
We've got so many people chiming in about not having dogs on this team. We do have dogs on this team. They are not playing like dogs. We have them and they are capable. I've seen Will Campbell. There's a reason Will Campbell is going into this season being slated as a first-round draft pick, top 10 pick as a tackle.
Top 5,
There's a reason why fucking Harold Perkins is being talked about as the top linebacker in the draft, right? They're not playing like it right now. They're playing good enough to be good, but they're not playing to their potential. And those two guys, and that is a reflection of this team. It's a soft, unmotivated team right now. And I think the loss to USC was one thing. The, fucking blackface Thibodeau Colonel running up and down on us, Mr. Magoo, whatever the fuck his name was.
Guggenheim.
And then you move on and you sneak out a victory against South Carolina where you did a lot of great things, but you did a lot of fucking ugly, weak stuff as well. It's time to get over that hump. And I think it happens this week. And you should see the overall blueprint of who this team can be moving forward. And if not, we're going to have some problems, right? But I think you can, if you move forward, you can be in the game against Ole Miss, right? Yeah. It's not going to be a blowout for Lane Kiffin. It's going to be a Saturday night in Death Valley. They're going to be motivated to play, and we're going to execute, right?
I don't know why. Can you hear me?
We can hear you,
but you're blurred out.
I don't. Yeah,
Are you naked right now?
I don't know what happened.
It's okay.
I think I can see your penis.
But we can keep going.
What I was going to say is one thing. So the number 7's the dogs. The dogs are not dogging, right? They're not being dogs. But on the bright side, you've had some guys that were not expected to be dogs and be dogs. And I think the receiving core, we talked a little bit about them. But the key with the receivers, one point I wanted to get back to was that we're making the catches. Like I think early our season preview, we were like, man, can these guys are they going to make is CJ Daniels going to come in and make that third down catch? Is Aaron Anderson going to make that big catch?
I'm still not
even
sure
Lacey.
Did Daniels catch that ball in the end zone? Because that was sick.
There was never a replay.
But that was the libs are shadow banning. That was a nasty catch that I wish we would have at least saw a pylon cam because it looked, and we had a bad angle from the TV, but it looked like he got that. But no, you're right. There's not a ton. I think Mason, the only drop ball I can kind of come up with off the top of my head is Mason Taylor had one.
Mason, but also Parker doesn't need to play anymore. Hopefully Hilton can come back sooner than later.
Parker lost his shot.
And I think one guy that got missed on our little pre-pod segment was Xavion Thomas is now the new Aaron Anderson. I think one of y'all mentioned that where
Brett did.
We're going to have to get creative. We have to get creative to find. I mean, because he is going to be dynamic. He is a dynamic player.
But you've seen the separation now from Aaron Anderson going into the season. 0 and 1 were very much.
And even CJ Daniels is a starter. He needs to be on the field too.
Right, but I think it's evident that Aaron Anderson and Kyron Lacey are your guys, right? CJ Daniels is absolutely involved in that. But I think when the game is on the line to make a play, not just to get a first, but to make a play, you're going to go to those two guys. Where Xavion Thomas is explosive, but he is way bigger than I ever anticipated him being. He needs to have a lot more action between the tackles. I think you need that pop, that quick burst. And honestly, if you're not going to get it from Nuss with his legs, you have to have a rotation that's not just fucking rotating Caden Durham with Josh Williams, who can't fucking run through a sandbox. It looks like he is stuck in the mud.
And we have a lot of this orbit motion. I don't remember seeing that a lot in the last couple of years of this offense. That's a perfect guy that you would want to see in the orbit motion. And then you have a lead blocker in Josh Williams, someone that likes to just run into people.
Josh is a great blocker, sure.
Or Jackson, and then hand it off and have a stretch play with Xavion Thomas.
No, I agree. I love seeing it because that just opens up so many things where people have to, is he getting it in the middle? Is he going to catch a swing pass? Is Kyron Lacey going to get behind us because our safety came up? There's just, like Mike has said, there's so many flashes of things. And I think we touched on it more in the 30 minutes before we actually hit the record button on accident. Nuss can fucking throw some balls in there. Like that ball to
Beautiful.
Anderson over the middle is as good a ball as I've seen in a long
Mhm.
time. Of like, it's a gap in my face, and
Yep.
I'm gonna feather this ball over the linebacker and get it in before the safety can get there. Was an absolutely incredible ball. The one he threw to Lacey on the out route where he had no time, threw it
Yep.
before Lacey even thought about breaking out, and it was perfectly placed. Like Nuss had not, the arm talent thing that everyone always, mentions,
Yeah.
and it kind of sounds stupid. Like Nuss has that.
Yep.
He's got a lot of tools in that arm.
Yeah,
We
the
have
one pass we haven't seen from him is just, and I guess we just haven't had the opportunity because the way the defense is run is just that deep ball. Like we saw Jaden throw the deep ball, but again, he's throwing it to two
It kind
starters
of
in the
worries
NFL.
me. It kind
Aaron's
of
pass down
worries
the
me.
sideline was pretty deep. It was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was right on cue. But yeah, other than that, you haven't seen it very often.
It worries me that our entire like deep ball threat seems to hinge on the health of Chris Hilton. Like that's
Yeah.
a little worrisome. And maybe it'll open up. And just to kind of go back to it, it's like guys like CJ Daniels and Xavion Thomas, they also have only been here for a few months. And it's like all these other guys have been having reps with Nuss for a long time. So it's like we could still see those guys kind of progress in this offense. Like it's week 3. We're what, a quarter of the way done with the season. So there's still a lot to be had out there. And I think fuckface calling the plays, Sloan is getting better at it. Like we're gonna continue to see this team get better. We just got to become more bully.
Yeah, it's the decision making. It's okay, we're inside we got stopped. Like let's stop going for it on whatever the down and distance is. Let's kick the field goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, but part of me wants to be that team that's like, no, we go.
But
for
we're
it.
not.
And
I
this
agree,
defense
but we're
allows
not.
you. I agree. I
We
know.
haven't done
I
it in
know.
No, I know, and that's why I don't understand. I don't understand the excuse. The analytics tell us like, what fucking data are you reading? Because it's not on our
Stephen
team.
Shea
Just
data.
call a better play.
Like, it's not on our team, right?
Throw
Like, what
out
the fuck?
Georgia, throw out
I
Alabama,
Yeah.
throw
I
out
agree.
Texas. Like they're
You drive all
outliers.
the way down the field against USC. You drive all the way down the field against Florida State. You drive all the way down the field against all these teams, and then
Yeah.
you just can't punch it in. Which
You
last
come
week I
away
don't
with
think we did
nothing.
anything on the first drive, but then you just try to go for it, and that's
Yeah.
not who we are. Like our kicker's good enough. Like if we can get a snap to him, he's good enough to put it through the uprights and let's take the points.
Listen, I think if I could just sum it up in just one fucking statement, O-line's got to get better. I think
Yep.
the minute the O-line gets better, this team gets better. And the defense is doing enough to keep us in games and more at times, right? They're keeping us in games and they're creating opportunities
What, 3
when we need them.
turnovers?
The O-line needs to fucking get better. And the minute they get better and we get on the same page with the rest of the offense, this will be a good football team that's going to surprise some people in the games against Ole Miss, against Bama, against A&M on the road, at home to end the season against Oklahoma. Those are all big games that we're going to have to play really, really good to win. And I think we have a chance.
When that pass interference in the end zone happened, I think we all knew we weren't scoring a touchdown there.
Which one?
We were just we ran 4 times on. Well, we threw it once, but we broke out the wing T, the
I was just about to say,
Relaford
we're talking about
T.
the O-line. Now we have Gabriel Relaford as a fullback. We're bringing the fullback back out.
But they're not, like, if you go back and watch
shotgun, like they got pushed back 3 fucking yards every time they snapped the ball from that formation. Like get in shotgun. Go 5 wide at that point.
Figure it out, because we're not getting off the football. It doesn't matter who's in there. You go back and you slow-mo it. I mean, Relaford, Mason Taylor, fucking Caleb Jackson. Like we had all those guys lead blocking behind Emory Jones, and our running back doesn't fucking, like, he is in their ass. Like he doesn't give them a second to even create a lane. It's just, I'm going to hug up on their hip and hopefully I fall forward.
We can just
That's
roll forward.
And it's like, dude, we have to be better than that. We have to be better than that. That's inexcusable.
Did what's his name go back at tight end this week? Bordelon, wasn't he lining up as a tight end against Nichols?
I don't know that.
I haven't really.
I think he changed his jersey to like 80 something against Nichols, and lined up as a like a big tight end. But I don't remember if he did it this week.
At the end of the day, when you're that close, we have the dudes that are supposed to get it done. We have the fucking O-line that's supposed to get it. Frazier looks soft as hell. DJ Chester is a mental head case, and that is awful at center. That like
That's
that
not where you want to be.
that has to be fixed. You cannot be sketch brain at center, dude. Like he is snapping at claps, which I don't get the claps. Can we talk about this? How many years are we gonna fucking battle the refs on this before we're like, you know what? Maybe we should just stop doing it. Maybe they're trying to tell us, hey, you can't do this.
The stem or the what you call it when they shift, right?
The shift.
Yeah. Well, this time it was called.
Just
but
shift.
This time
Stop
it was
doing the fucking like. I get it. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. But like we are fucking rolling dice in critical moments of every game we get called for.
Like,
it's
let's try to sneak 5
games
yards
on the line.
See, but
like,
what's weird? It's weird that one's called a delay a game. But if someone claps, it's the whatever they called it last year. Disconcerting. Yeah. So this year is delay a game. It's different. It's two different.
But it's like it's so fucking like peewee of like, hey guys, we can trick them into like and I get other teams do it sometimes. But I watch a lot of college football and I never fucking see anyone else.
No, like
it's South Carolina did it
right
when
it works and it doesn't get called. We've gotten called for it way too many times for us to keep fucking doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like and
just pass on it.
Yeah, and like that's the thing is like maybe like I don't understand if it's some like 3D chess thing how it worked out for us where it's like we get penalized for it and then you get an explanation and then you go back in and you do it again when the game's on the line and it's like hey we fixed it like we didn't use our arms this time it's got to be on them and it's like it worked out like you know like but that is fucking ballsy if that's what's happening because it's always we always do it again. It's like we get penalized and we always go right back to it. And then every now and then the refs are like, fuck, we have to give it to the other guys this time because they didn't shuffle, right? Like
we did tell Brian no hands.
Yeah, and they didn't use their hands. So like it worked out for us. But I don't know.
So true. Imagine the headsets like all right, guys, we are now 1 for 9 on that good fucking work.
Let's do it again.
Keep it up.
There's 1 minute left in the game. Do it.
Let's keep that in our back pocket till Wayne comes into town, huh? We got it figured out.
And they're doing it with fucking like Suggs and like the guys that just got here. And it's like it's a fine line right there, man. But I don't know. It's just that type of shit. I don't know where I was going with this, but it was we're talking about the claps. I don't know. O-line's got to play better, period.
Yeah.
And I think
it started with Chester just snapping the ball whenever
Chester, the head case. Yeah. So like he heard a fucking clap and he snaps it right to Nuss's fucking face.
I think we can give one pass on a hostile, wild environment.
USC. He didn't snap the football when guys were jumping off sides. We could have had multiple free plays. And Brian Kelly's on the sideline be like, what the fuck? Snap the fucking football. Like
I think was it at the end of half? It might have even been at the end of the game where we like rushed to the line. And I'm like, this is the biggest play of the game. And these motherfuckers are going to try to sneak it in before the 2-minute warning. And we actually did the whole like fake. And then that was the pass to Lacey. I think that was originally out of bounds, but it was actually in bounds. But I don't know. It feels like we're always trying to cheat a penalty somewhere.
Yeah, we're getting sneaky with it. Anyway,
looking at the sequence of the game, I forgot about that. It was touchdown, South Carolina touchdown. Then I guess that was the fumble. Mm-hmm. Then it was we held them to a field goal right after.
Third down.
We stopped them. Yeah, but then we stopped them. We held them to a field goal after that. After the fumble.
No, we did.
That was huge. And then we throw the interception. I've been
trying to get to the interception.
And then they punt. It's crazy. Okay, let's get there.
I've been trying to get to the interception because for months I've been saying that Nuss is going to be legit, but at some point he's going to throw a soul-crushing interception.
That was
And
it.
boy, did he. Just the luck
No
of the
one,
Irish.
no one even close. Just right at you.
And
And
like,
he was
I
so
get it.
confident in that fucking throw too.
The safety was up. It looked like you were going to have one-on-one with Lacey, and he was seeing ghost a little with the way the O-line was at times. But he just threw that one immediately to Lacey, and it was a bad throw to begin with. And that dude is just right there, and not a soul has a chance to catch him. And then there's a flag, and I'm like, oh my God, we're getting roughing the passer. That play didn't even happen. And I mean, I know South Carolina got the ball, but like, talk about like a nice win of Nussmeier just getting decked. It pissed me off that everyone was like so upset about that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like,
It's like when the defender immediately acts like he walked out of a bank that he just robbed with SWAT team at him, like immediately puts his hands up like I didn't do shit, he probably did something wrong. And it's like, I think we that should have been a penalty.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Well,
I
between
mean,
the
maybe not in, like,
excuses,
ideal
it's
football.
consistent. It's consistent with protecting the quarterback. It has been, whether you agree with it or not, whether you think we should put a red jersey on the quarterback or not,
Right.
it's a consistent foul. So, like, I don't understand how that's like cheating the system. Or
Right.
we got
so
bailed
funny
out.
is what's funny is that was a penalty, but Joe Burrow's decapitation against UCF was not. Like,
But that's the evolution
difference
of
in
protecting the quarterback.
No,
They've
I know.
gotten
It's
so
been- it's
strict that
crazy.
like, you can't fucking do that. And it wasn't like he flopped. Like, he legit got pushed and
he got blindsided. It was a
Oh, yeah,
blindside
he got
push.
licked. And like, sure, maybe if I were in charge of football, it's like, no, man, they can. That's part of football. Get your head on a swivel.
Well,
But
or
that's
just
not the
you're
way
not
it
allowed
is.
to tackle. If you can't get blocked, you can't fucking be involved in the tackle. Get out of the play.
Yeah, but also all the excuses coming out of South Carolina about the penalties and things, like, I get it, but most of them were bad, and we basically tried to hand them to the point where they were at. And then you have Feinbaum. Did you hear his excuse today?
I don't listen to those type of people.
I just read the headline. The article said
Bald.
Feinbaum said South Carolina lost because game day was there. If game day wouldn't have been there, they would have beat LSU.
Just like Lane Kiffin says, what are you good at? That's what he tells Feinbaum. I don't. That's such a stupid.
I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like we got lucky with a couple of like the illegal man downfield, because a lot of times that shit just goes completely unnoticed. Like, that's where I feel like we kind of snuck a couple in, not necessarily the PI or the personal foul and stuff like that everyone's pissed about.
Yeah, the wiping the points off the board because of their penalties. Those penalties were legit. And that had nothing to do. Everything else that was given to us, quote unquote, had nothing to do with the score.
I did question. Gerald mentioned the block punt. I did in the middle of the game. I was like, I thought you couldn't leap over people, but like the announcers never said anything. It never came up again until Brian Kelly's like, we were going to report it to the league office. We think we have a case. But I did think of that to where it's like, I don't think you can leap over the wall. Like it's a same thing on like a blocked field goal.
Yeah, you're not.
You
allowed
can't
to
jump over the.
It's
line.
got you can't jump over somebody when it's like in the middle or something like that. Like you can leave your feet around the edges, but it's something about like leaving your feet in the interior.
Great play.
Something. Yeah,
I don't care how long teams do it.
I also think it's a soft penalty. That's ridiculous.
I will forever hate that punt formation. Forever. I just don't get it. I hate it. It feels like
what was his coach's name?
Polian.
No, I'm talking about like Les Miles.
Les Miles, a special teams coach.
Yeah, coach. He was the linebacker. He was the linebackers coach.
This is going to be
Robert in the chat here.
He's coming.
Hey, Chip in the chat. Chip in the chat. Who was Les Miles' special?
Pivito.
Oh, Bradley Dale.
Bradley, yeah, BDP.
Bradley.
You want to talk?
We've had better guys
in general.
Yeah.
I think we're coming up on.
Or do we need to preview UCLA at all? Is there anything?
There's no preview. I think it's going to be a fucking bloodbath, and we
know what we want to see. I think LSU should win handily, fix some of these
Who did they?
mistakes.
Oh, they barely beat Hawaii, and then they got blown out by Indiana. That's true.
Malvito, yeah, Mallory,
Mallory.
remember Mallory. Yeah, so UCLA is terrible. This should be a team that we fucking beat the hell out of, and we show those glimpses that we talked about. Like those amazing plays by Aaron Anderson, those great runs by Caden Durham, the elite throws by Nuss. Like we should consistently be doing that against UCLA, and I think we kind of fix some of that gap integrity, create some plays, and we should run away with this one. We should absolutely run away with this one. And I think even as much as UCLA sucks, it's enough of a brand where we'll have some highlights, we'll have some notoriety, we'll have some hype, and it'll change a little bit of this perception of LSU right now. And a quote unquote sloppy victory against South Carolina will be a distant memory pretty quickly.
Kind of a slow week of kind of a slow week of college football. LSU, UCR, USC was probably the big game, but good old Stoops gave Georgia everything they could have.
Yeah, it was an interesting. I didn't get to watch most of that. I was in and out of it, but
What was that? Loft 18, no big deal.
Nice. I don't really put much stock in that. I mean, like Georgia, I hate using the SEC game on the road. It's hard to win. Like I think I've heard that a million times this week. It is, and that's
true.
That's a valid point, right? But like beyond that, it's Georgia, dude. You're going to get everybody's best fucking game, and at the end of the day, they've got some players.
It's a little surprising that Georgia couldn't handle Kentucky's best game. That's all I'll say.
It is surprising. It is surprising. I just think it's more validation that there is no true top dog. There is nobody in this league that is going to absolutely run the table and run away with this championship. I think there's a handful of very good teams that are playing very, very high caliber football right now, but at any week they could slip. At any week you could have Texas drop. You could have Ohio State drop. You could have Georgia drop. It's just a matter of time of when we're going to see it. And then I think you're going to get to the end of the season and everybody's got 1 to 2 losses. And then the conversation opens up of, strength of schedule and who did they lose to and what time of year. So while it is something to talk about that they almost lost to Kentucky, I don't think that moves them, in my opinion, out of the top 2 teams. I still think they're up there.
I'm forgetting Missouri.
We are very much.
one.
Oh yeah, we're very much in the zone of like everyone's saying Texas is incredible. Like we're in the zone of them to just
Arch,
lose
baby.
what the fuck game. Like it's coming.
Arch is now #1 Heisman vote getter.
Well, Ewers is out for a couple weeks, and again, Ewers is a puss. I mean, like when he's healthy, he's amazing. He's excellent. Like he's got really great touch on the ball. He can improvise, but he's soft as Charmin. That dude is always hurt. I don't think he's sustainable. I think it's going to end up biting them at some point in the year because Arch is great too, but he's not ready to fucking lead this team to a championship yet.
Yeah, is he the #1? Yeah, I'm with you. For as much shit as I've talked about Bill O'Brien, I think got to give him credit. Pretty impressive. They really felt like they kind of had that game for a little while. I wasn't watching a ton of it, but every time I checked, I was like, oh, BC? Oh, BC.
BC surprisingly scrappy. Memphis taking it to Florida State.
Dude, unbelievable.
The guy needs to eat the shit. Like everyone keeps saying. I know it's beating a dead horse with that, but
I think Florida State is a perfect example of what happens when you put all your marbles in the transfer portal.
So
you go all out in one season, and you get your championship, and you get out of there, right? He didn't capitalize on the championship. There's no culture there. There's no development of young players. And Ole Miss is staring down the barrel of that same model, right? Kiffin's got all his eggs in this year's basket. After these guys exit next year, Ole Miss is going to tank. So that tells me Ole Miss is out for blood this season, but that's the dangers of capitalizing on the transfer portal. Anyway, just
Lane to Florida.
the in-laws in the Florida State stuff was they were almost in tears on Saturday. Basically, he's telling me he's like I don't know the whole DJ thing. They just lied straight to our face about how good he was all off season.
If only you didn't have a TV that you could have watched him play for 4 years.
They lied to him. They lied to the fans that he was the guy.
Yeah, no, Florida State's a flop. Mike Norvell had his championship chance last season. That was it. Maybe
Kirk Herbstreit took that away from him.
Maybe eventually they'll build back to something with the transfer portal, but right now their recruiting is not even that great. Sunbelt Billy, yep. It's inevitable at this point that Billy Napier will be fired from Florida. It kind of makes Miami's big victory not look so good. I mean, I know we talked about it in the moment, but Miami
seeing people put Miami at like 2-3, it's like, brother, you got to pump the brakes a little bit.
That's crazy. I think
that's a team that benefits from the league being down this year. That's a team.
They're going to be in the playoff most likely. Like if they stay injury free, I mean, I can pull up their schedule, but I'm sure Clemson isn't necessarily a juggernaut.
I don't think they even play Clemson.
They play
Louisville. They play Louisville, Duke.
I'll open it.
They literally don't play it. Look at this.
Yeah, but I feel like Louisville is one of those fucking teams that is your typical
they don't play
like
Clemson.
That's getting hyped up. And then it's like just for betting purposes, and everybody's
oh my god,
it's right here.
But this,
look at
this
this.
Is
They're
what
going to go undefeated.
This is what I'm talking about with this LSU team. You sneak into the playoff. You play, I don't know, maybe a road game, maybe a home game in Tiger Stadium, and all of a sudden you go and you have to play Miami, who has played fucking no one for 11 weeks. It's like all of a sudden you're sitting there in this, what is that, semifinal, quarterfinal, whatever it may be. It's like just if this
just get us in that door,
getting better and get into the dance. Like, yeah, sure, if we play Georgia, it's like, oh well, we probably will lean Georgia here, but it's like if you can catch the Miami side of the bracket, who's to say?
Well, then you have onside kick in Tennessee up 30 too. You don't forget about that.
Tennessee looks really good.
Tennessee does, but also like they're playing fucking Kent State.
I know.
Like,
this is the week. This is the week
they played Chattanooga, Kent State.
Right. It's hard for me to, and I like Heupel. I think he gets it going, like kind of a dick move to do onside kicks and stuff. And I don't really think Oklahoma's that good. Tulane was kind of in that game with them for a long time.
They let off. Going back and watching that game, I didn't watch it in real time. I was just checking the score. But going back and looking, it looks like Oklahoma was having their way. It went up by 21 points and was just like, all right, we're chilling. And Tulane came storming back. And then they found a way to fucking secure the victory. I think Oklahoma is a little underrated. I think this game against Tennessee is going to be closer than people think. This is not going to be a waxing by Tennessee.
I hope.
That's what I want to see. But it's like Oklahoma probably should have lost to Houston the week before and then come in and, like you said, they were ahead in that game for the whole, but it was not a super there was a moment where that game was in doubt. I think Tulane got a pick 6 and then they got the ball back from a punt. I think they turned it over. I wasn't watching. I was doing shit, but like constantly checking it. And so I don't
Arnold's making a lot of plays with his legs that has me enticed to think that they could pull out some sneaky victories this season. That's all I'll say about Oklahoma. Big week for them. We'll know everything we need to know about Tennessee and Oklahoma both this weekend.
This team, let's see what all the Cornhuskers.
I don't think they're a playoff team, but they're a good team.
Yeah, good for Nebraska.
Mizzou's playing well. Tennessee's playing well. I still don't really know what to think about Ole Miss. Putting up all the points against fucking nobody. It's like, I expect that from a Lane Kiffin offense. But who are they whenever they have to overcome a deficit, when they have to fucking go toe to toe with somebody? I'm anxious to watch that. I think our game is the first test for them, really.
They play South Carolina the week before they play us, which, I don't know if that's a test, whatever.
Defensively, I think they're I would love to see how they handle South Carolina's D-line. That would be interesting to watch.
I'm not thinking South Carolina is going to win that game, but they play Kentucky next week, like not this coming week. They play Kentucky, South Carolina, us.
USC plays Michigan this week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
6 points.
That's another.
Yeah,
That's
you wanna
another
look at
game.
this.
I think USC could continue to build. They'll be square in the top 10 if they beat Michigan, which they should beat Michigan.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I agree. At Michigan, 2:30 kick, which sucks that LSU games at 2:30,
Where is
but
it? Oh wait,
that's why they make the
right
quad
there. Yeah.
box.
Well, no, ABC now does the thing where it's actually 2:45 and it's actually 11:15 and it's
Fuck,
actually
man. If you're
all
on
these weird
ABC at 11, it might be 3:15 before the next game comes on. That game took forever.
Way too long.
We didn't really mention it, but like, what an incredibly soul-crushing loss for South Carolina.
Oh.
I've been giggling about it since the game ended, of just like an absolute just fucking dagger to the heart.
We needed that. We really needed that. If we would have lost to South Carolina, this season is looking bad. We needed that victory. Utah, Oklahoma State, Cam Rising's out, so this is not as exciting anymore. Utah's a really good team with Cam Rising, but that's another puss.
You want to play guess Ole Miss's opponent this week? They're playing Georgia Southern, the vaunted Georgia Southern.
Miami, South Florida. Miami, South Florida is a game. Might want to keep an eye on that one, Bob.
Circle that one.
I feel like this is our first potential like real college football Saturday slate.
Well, like, we know who people kind of are now. Like I think this is the first wave where conclusions are being made. Like right now, everybody, is hell bent on the national championship. Right now would be amongst three teams: Texas, Ohio State, and Georgia. And then you've got a handful of Alabama, Ole Miss, Mizzou, Tennessee, kind of hodgepodge behind them. I think this is the first week where you're going to start seeing some separation. Like, does USC blow out fucking Michigan and they catapult in like deep into that top 10? Does Miami get snuck by South Florida and like that little dream is fizzled out? Does Tennessee escape a narrow one at Oklahoma? And it's like, hey, we were way off on them. Like, I feel like this is the first week.
Oklahoma jump into top 10 because they beat this badass Tennessee team. No,
LSU blows the brakes off of fucking UCLA, and it's like, okay, maybe
UCLA team.
Well, I'm just like, they fixed some stuff. They look better. Maybe they should be higher than 14 or whatever. Maybe they should be a 12, 11. I think you're going to see a lot of movement, and this is the first week where it's like, maybe we were off on something, because everything so far has been status quo.
Yeah. You just get a nice little noon 11 a.m. central slate of NC State and Clemson, and you got to keep an eye on Florida, Mississippi State. Like that might be a hilarious game to watch. It
looks like one of the worst teams in the country.
Florida State,
and we find out how bad Florida really is. I think that's it for that. And then once you get to the 2:30 window, you have the USC Michigan game, like you said. You have UCLA LSU. You have Arkansas at Auburn, which is like that could maybe catch the last box of your quad box. And then you have Utah, Oklahoma State. Once again, like you said, maybe not as big a game now as it would have been a week ago. And then you have a good nightcap with Miami, South Florida. You have the Oklahoma game. I think there was one more
for the nightcap.
Ole Miss,
Akron,
Baylor, Colorado,
Boston College, Michigan State.
Yeah, maybe we're still missing a game or two for an elite college football slate.
The next week is the first fucking big boy with Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah. Which
that's next.
It is nice. Like that game every year for our entire life would have been played at 2:30. Like it is nice that we just get like the automatic like, hey, premier SEC game at night, home stadiums. Like that's pretty sick because this game would have never been played at night if with CBS.
I believe it is the following week, right? Is it on? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it is. That's the only like big boy game though. which will be nice. That'll be a nice build up to where we're not stressing, hopefully, and we really get to enjoy that. Damn, that's gonna be wild.
Yeah,
Getting that,
Bama is definitely doing what they need to do to
they could
keep.
win that game. Bama could win
They
that
could
game.
absolutely win that game. They
Of course they
absolutely could
can.
win that game.
I wouldn't be
But they
surprised
could
either way.
absolutely
I'll
lose
be
to Tennessee as well.
surprised. I would only be surprised if Alabama blew Georgia out. Like if Georgia's in there and kind of
Yeah.
like, hey, we're gonna win this game by 20. There's not much you can do. Like I would be a little surprised, but it's not gonna shock me if either one of these teams win in a close game. Like I don't think
It wouldn't shock me, but I am 100% betting on Georgia.
Like, dude,
100%. You don't get this Saban benefit of the doubt in these
Yeah.
big games anymore. Like they can lose this game. There's 3 more of these type of games that they can lose this
the
year.
one
and
thing
it's not going to shock
we can
me anytime.
we can hate on Milrow all we want, but like the dude's gonna make plays, like especially
Well, when
it's
you go
big.
against a fucking team that has no gap integrity, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I
that
mean we
dude's
have
just
to
gonna
get a
go
lot
downhill.
better.
Yeah.
But also before they get to us, they have to beat Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri. Like you have to play all those guys and South Carolina's defense. So
Oh yeah. No, they're gonna.
Bama's got a bit tough ass
We're
schedule.
gonna know this is not gonna be some fraudulent Bama team going to the playoffs that you're just like, oh, they snuck past
Because
this.
they still
or
have the dudes. They still have the dudes.
Well, they have the dudes, but they have the schedule that's going to tell us who they are.
Yep.
We're not.
Yeah.
It's not going to be confused going into the playoffs. I'm like, oh, it's just the name brand. It's like, no, they had to go through some teams, and they either made it or they broke. And I don't. I think they're very good with their dudes right now, but they haven't, like, to Brett's point, they haven't had that like Saban factor where it's early in the year and you have to fucking play Georgia and
Yeah.
it's the game's on the line, and Kirby has been planning this all off season, and Kalen DeBoer is, I don't know. There's some issues there on Bama's side that it's not just going to be this market A cotton,
Yep.
All right.
I think that's all we got. We did an hour and a half. Only an hour of it was recorded, but I think we hit all the high points. We didn't catch you talking shit about Whit Week, so I think we can just leave that on the cutting room floor.
I love Whit Weeks. He had a bad game. He had a bad game. I think we talked a little bit about his gap integrity and being sucked in and not taking the proper
eye candy,
making the proper reads. He had the little eye candy situation there. It's nice to have him. I disagree with Grant's point where he said he doesn't think that that's the best position for him is that outside backer kind of taking the place.
He was almost like a strong safety.
I think he can be there, and I think he can be a dude there. I think it's just he's going to have to correct some of these errors. His head was looking in the wrong place, and he was reacting late. And even by reacting late, he was making shoestring tackles, but those tackles should have been in the backfield. We mentioned Zy Alexander. He had an interception in the back of the end zone, coming up with a big play there. We have the piece. We are not elite back there by any means, but we do just enough to keep us in the games, and you see improvement week to week. I think the biggest takeaway on defense is keep doing what you're doing. Offense needs to fucking step up and compliment you. We don't expect Zy Alexander and Ashton Stamps to be fucking first-round draft picks. I expect DJ Pickett to be next season, 5-star, freshman coming in. That's the #1 DB in the nation, right? Like there's going to be a change in the type of dudes we get moving forward if we can lock in this 25 class. But we have to be perfect with the deficiencies we have in personnel means that our margin for error is so thin on our technique. And whenever we do play sloppy technique, it's so exposed. But when we do it well, we look like a decent defense. And I think that is the same song and dance for everybody across the board, which is why I also echo the fact that Perkins is different. Start playing different because you're not like the rest of that defense, and we need you to stand out, and you're not right now.
Yeah, I mean, this defense is going to make enough plays and keep us in every game, and it's like I have a lot of faith in us. I'd like to have regain my faith in the offensive line. I'd like it to just say that South Carolina's D line is the best D line we're going to play against all season, and they're going to get better from it. I don't know if that's true, but I don't know. I just go back
Walter
and
Nolan's a
watch.
dude at Ole Miss. Bama's got some
Right,
dudes.
they're going
I
to play
think there's a
dudes
couple more
every
games
week in the big
that,
games.
but it's the first elite. I think there's two teams that are going to compare to that, right? It's Ole Miss's D line and
Yeah.
Alabama's D line. I think outside of that, South Carolina is absolutely up there. So we have had a big test, and for the most part, you were confused and pushed around, but you did enough to pull out the victory. Y'all want to do a couple picks before we leave?
We'll do a couple. But yeah, this defense has shown me that they're going to be good enough. They're not going to be elite. They're not a complete, absolute shit show like it was last year. They're going to be able to hold teams to field goals when they get put in bad positions. They're going to force some punts. They're probably going to keep forcing turnovers. Like this team, they haven't necessarily fallen our way all season. And I saw some stat where we were like really bad in turnover and like some statistics, but we knock a lot of balls loose, and like these guys kind of have been making some plays. So it's like have a couple more of those sack fumbles bounce our way. And
Who's to say LSU can't get better?
Yeah, we
Why
got
can't we
a
get
really
better?
good staff. Why can't Corey Raymond improve on some of these guys in 12 weeks of in season, and Bo Davis and just go down the list? Blake
It's
Baker.
just you're not going to see Josh Williams get faster. Anyway, let's go to some.
I think I got 4 of the marquee games. So Friday you have Illinois going to Nebraska. Nebraska is a 7.5-point favorite.
Illinois at Nebraska. I'll go Illinois in the points.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do
Nebraska to win.
It feels like Nebraska's getting a little too much love. Like this line feels like it should be in the 4 range. I haven't watched a ton of Illinois this season, but it feels like that's too many. And like you said, I kind of like Nebraska to win, but if you made me make a pick, I would take Illinois.
Yeah, I'll take Nebraska.
Okay.
Smart man. The next one would be USC Michigan. USC is a 6-point favorite on the road in the Big House. Michigan, new quarterback, made the change to Orji.
Alex Orji. I'll take SC.
Yeah, I think you have to take SC. I tried to buy the Kool-Aid and say like Michigan's D was going to step up and keep them in that Texas game. Their offense, and maybe this dude ends up being electric and runs the ball and makes some plays for them. But from what I saw from USC's defense against LSU and what I saw from Michigan's offense every game they've played this season, it's really hard to take Michigan in this spot.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think USC's victory over LSU is a major confidence booster. I think they're confident in what they do. They've bought into their defensive scheme, those adjustments. I think Miller Moss is a good quarterback who's good enough to make enough plays against Michigan. I just think Michigan doesn't have the firepower to really overcome a shootout. And I think Lincoln Riley and that offense with Miller Moss, they can put up some points. So
I think USC gets the ball out so quick and stuff that it kind of negates a little bit of Michigan being so dominant on the front. Like that's kind of how I felt in that game. It's like, well, we didn't get like a ton of pressure, but also this dude was getting the ball out of his hands in like a second. And so I think that maybe, negates a little bit of Michigan's nastiness on defense. Obviously, they're still really good. I think that the defense is – I don't think it's going to be this, 50-7 round.
Yeah.
But I just you can't. It's so hard to take Michigan in this spot.
If Michigan comes out and beats USC, I think that says a lot more about Michigan than it does about USC. I think Michigan overcoming that and really like stopping that offense and putting together a new like downhill, like really physical offense with Alex Orji and Edwards. I think that would say a lot. I don't believe that that's going to be the case, though. So,
I think the next game would probably be Utah at Oklahoma State. Utah -2.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I don't know anything about. Is Utah's backup Zach Wilson's brother? I think it
Reported
is.
first, maybe. I don't know that we're gonna get it here. Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched a ton of Utah.
Did they play last week? Whoever it was.
I don't know.
Probably,
I watched
maybe.
I watched 2 weeks of
Yeah.
Utah
Wilson,
and then
yeah, Isaac Wilson.
Isaac.
Yeah, Isaac
Sir
Wilson.
Isaac Wilson.
So that'll be a little storyline. I don't know. I think they have a good defense, but that team literally runs through Cam Rising. I think he's that good whenever he's on. Oklahoma State has looked inconsistent when they want. I mean, Ollie Gordon going into the season was, slated as the next big thing. The best running back in the country, could go to the Heisman ceremony as an underdog, whatever. You haven't really seen it. They were in a battle with, who was it? Was it Tulane?
Who, Oklahoma State?
Arkansas?
Was it Arkansas? Arkansas, yeah, with Arkansas.
Yeah.
I think there could be a little bit of a coaching edge to Utah. Defensively, Utah's very sound, but again, I don't know what they have without Cam Rising.
I'm in the same boat. If you're asking me to make a pick, I'd close my eyes and take Utah.
Yeah, it's hard. I'll go Oklahoma State.
Being a favorite on the road, it just makes me feel like they want you to take Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And that's yeah.
It's a coin toss there.
I've watched a few plays of Utah this season. I watched a little bit of that Oklahoma State Arkansas, not enough to sit here and tell you should actually take my advice and put money on this game. And then I think we do Miami, South Florida, and then Tennessee, OU. I think those are the last two, unless you really want to lay 35 with Lane.
You do 6.5
against Georgia Southern,
BYU,
which I would 1,000%.
Yeah,
as many points score 70 if he can.
What is I can't read that. So Miami, 16, South Florida,
16.5. I'm with you, Mike. I would take South Florida here 1,000 times, and it's like it may get ugly for you, and you may be so pissed in the second.
But that
quarter
just validates
24-0
who Miami is, in my opinion. If Miami runs away and beats the brakes off of South Florida, that's more telling to me than them beating Florida. I think South Florida hung around with Bama a little bit. I mean, they're always a physical team, but Miami's very good. But I think it might be overhyped a little bit. I think they're still good enough to win, obviously, but 16.5 points is way too many.
I think we've been on the same bet. I think we've been on the same bet every time.
I took Oklahoma State.
That makes me feel better. We're all right. And then I think we're going to do the same here because I think you really want to take OU, and I really want to take OU 7. Tennessee -7.
7 though.
See,
if it was 10, I'd be all over Oklahoma.
And old me would have taken Tennessee 100 times out of 100, and I would just lose these games. So it's like, this is a prove-it game. Give me the OU home crowd. Fuck Josh Heupel. I don't know. This is a game where it's like, it's either very close or Tennessee beats the fuck out of them. It's one of those you could probably end game this in the first quarter because you know what's going to happen. Like if Tennessee's hot and Oklahoma doesn't have an answer for their veer and shoot, whatever the fuck their offense is that they run, then it's going to be a long night. But I can see a world where Venables has an answer and they kind of play gritty and this game is way lower scoring than you thought.
I think that's the type of game you're going to see. This is going to be a back and forth fucking battle. And then Tennessee and that O-line led by fucking big boy Lance Hurd, they're going to wear them down and they're going to pull away late by 10 points. I think I think you're looking at one extra touchdown to kind of separate that gap where you're going to look back at the score and be like, damn, Tennessee handed it to them, but it was a fucking battle until the last 6 minutes of the game.
So give me Tennessee. Feels like the world's going to be on Tennessee. That's my problem.
It's a lot of points. I don't like the amount of points there, but I think 7
I get Tennessee hasn't really played anyone, But if I were making this line, I would be like, yeah, I would put this at Tennessee -10. Like, we can count some
Right,
home field
right.
advantage in there, but like Tennessee is going to score points, and I'm not sure Oklahoma has that firepower to be able to get into a shootout, which, like, how quickly times have changed where I don't think Oklahoma's built for a shootout,
Shootout with
but it's
Tennessee.
like it just I don't know.
I love it. College football is very different this season. Like the brands, the structure, the new faces, the old faces are gone. Game day with McAfee and Saban. Like it's like a whole new era right now. And it's interesting. But
we say
to your
this every
point,
week, but
if it was 10
sometimes
points, I'd be all over Oklahoma. 7, I'm going Tennessee.
See, I think I would bet that's a psycho that I am. If it was 10, I would pick Tennessee.
Well, I mean, that's you looking deeper into it than me just going
searching
off the
my soul. I've just won and lost so many games like this where it's like, fuck, dude, 7, no fucking way Oklahoma can keep up.
That's the same type of like deep attic brain that you're in. That is me talking about Brian Kelly playing 3D chess with the shifting penalty, like
Charlie Day on the whiteboard.
Yeah,
making connections. We're gonna get to the bottom of this assassination attempt. You know, we got all the information.
Grant, you're going Tennessee.
Yeah,
you're keeping this up on your spreadsheet, right?
I mean, this is only the second one.
But you have last week's or 2 weeks ago's, whatever.
I don't. Okay, I didn't make any picks the last 2 weeks.
I just didn't know if you, because Brett and I didn't pick either by ourselves.
Oh, okay. I have week 1.
That was what I was saying. We don't need to go over it. I was just asking if, like, by the end of the year, we're gonna have this recorded.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
No. All right. I think it's time we adjourn. It's been fun. Appreciate the 70 people in the chat on YouTube, on Twitter. Like and subscribe. You know, Matt, I really wanted to hit a Matt Moscona slap and hit that, but I don't want to wake up the kid. You
found it.
Smash that like button.
Segment's brought to you by Bud Light.
Anyway, all right, guys, we'll be back
over and out
after a big blowout against UCLA. Over and out.